So it's Thursday and I'm back at training again. On Thursdays we train at this private school, boys grammar school. Now I'm not sure what a grammar school means, not as they appear to be an English thing, but from what I've seen it means they have an absolute ton of money to spend on stuff. The facilities here are so nice, it's so good. There's massive football pitches and rugby pitches all around me. As you can see, I am wearing my very nice glasses that are actually broken. These are the only pair of glasses I have that actually fit my face. They're perfect for driving, but they look so stupid. Oh, look at that. And the reason for that is I've sat on them about 4 times. Right, so today I want to speak about the book. What is this? Oh. Right, anyway, today I wanted to speak about the book, The People versus Tech. I just finished reading. It was a gift. Anyway, it's an alright book, looks very nice, look at that. Never judge a book by its cover, but I do quite like the plain white with the bold black text. The People versus Tech. This book was unusual. It was good and bad at the same time. It's quite hard to explain. Basically, it's about how the way big tech is going and how it's affecting democracy and the way politics and everything goes. It isn't something I would usually pick up. Politics, if you know me personally, I really don't bother with. I know it's a bit hypocritical because it affects everything in our life, blah, 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 blah. But I don't understand politics. I don't follow it. I don't invest any time in it. So it's not really something I really prioritize. Tech, on the other hand, as we all know, is one of the most fascinating things to come out of this century, really. It's remolding how we as a society work, it's shaping how we do things for the future, and it's basically one of the biggest changes since the Industrial Revolution. And this book basically talks about the war about those two things colliding, especially in places like Britain and America where there's a massive clash. The biggest examples they put in this, which makes it quite a relevant book, is it talks about the Trump administration and Brexit. That's the other one. That's the other important one, I guess. And about how big tech played a massive role in influencing those voters and the way those elections or voting systems went. Delving down into it, it basically explains how big tech was used in those campaigns. The one it focuses primarily on is the Trump administration. This shows it was a team that was put together, and basically what they did was they took data points. Now a data point could be anything between your age, where you live, your gender, what your priorities are, what you watch on YouTube, how you spend your time on Facebook, what you purchase, what you order, whereabouts you're from, all that sort of gig. And basically they take this team were employed to just find as many data points about everyone as a whole over America and try and make sense of those correlations to affect how they came across. So if you were, the main example it shows in here is if you're a hardcore Texan who is really for the Trump administration, they had lots of really harsh, bold advertising where it was pictures of Trump, there was guns going off, there's loud cars, there's stuff against immigration, all of that, those sort of hardcore policies. Whereas in softer states that are a little more left-wing, they would show softer campaigns. So it wouldn't show Trump's face, It would have more of pleasant time with families and friends, and very welcoming, very warming, a lot of warmth. And then at the end would be a simple line saying, from the Trump administration. So it affects everyone more on a detailed person by person basis how they would advertise. And that's actually how they went about winning a lot of states that in the past have usually been left wing. And this is by, for instance, looking at places that have a lot of stay-at-home mums who are really worried about the way the future's going, and would show a lot of warmth from this campaign. Whereas on the other side, when there's people being really harsh and bold and want lots of statements against stuff and want things to happen now, they would make them more harsh and more bold. The other one was with Brexit. Now, with Brexit, as we all know, if you're from the UK, you're sick to death of it. The ones who were for it can't be bothered with it now, and the ones who are against it just want it over and done with so that we can at least get some sort of conclusion. And this was showing basically how on places like Facebook, for instance, they could track how you did your 9 to 5 at work, because let's face it, when just before you start work, probably during your lunch break, or you're getting a cup of tea, and then before you go home, you're probably just doing a quick scan through Facebook. Now, they can take those data points of the typical times you do that throughout the day, because you'll find that they're roughly about the same time every day, especially if you're in quite a well-scheduled job. You'd have your break at a certain time, you'd have your lunch at the same time, and then they can track that using those data points, and then they can use that to affect what they want to show you, really. So if you're going for your tea break or you're going for your lunch, usually, if you're like me, you're really frustrated, you're really hungry, and that puts you in a frustrated mood. You need your hit of sugar, your hit of anything edible, maybe a drink, just to kind of give your brain some time to relax. And that's where they'll advertise stuff that really gets on your nerves. If they want you to vote against like anti-immigration, to reduce immigration into the country, before you go for your lunch break, they'll know you're looking at Facebook, and at that point they'll show footage of immigrants coming over by boat. Someone maybe gets their car taken from them by an immigrant. Any of those sort of propaganda stories against something, that's when they'll show you. And then vice versa, they know once you've eaten something, or once you've had your break, they'll show something softer. So maybe if they are pro-immigration, they'll show the catastrophes that are happening to these people abroad, and why we should be bringing them over, because they're just going through a hell of a time. Or it might be a charity where they want you to donate money. So they do all this stuff based around how you do your day-to-day life. And the surprising thing is, with all these technology companies, is that we're giving them so much information even without realizing it, whether that's just the time of day you're logging on, the type of stuff you're doing. They can even take your purchases that you're doing on the Facebook Marketplace, and kind of gauge your rough age group or your interests and what you're looking at. And then from there, depending on what your interests are, they can determine roughly your demographic and all those things, and basically pinpoint you quite accurately down to how best to advertise to you. Now, this is where the issues come in. This is my only problem with the book, actually. It only talks about the negativity. It justifies itself to be balanced by having the odd one-liner of, but the developers could use it for good and things like that. But overall, he focuses mostly on the rant about how bad it is. Now, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just that, you want a balanced argument. You don't want to always be hearing this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, or this is good, this is good, this is the best thing ever. You want to see a balance, to and forth, a bit of a debate within the book, which unfortunately this doesn't show. But that aside, The problem with these big tech giants is that it focuses the advertising too much. So, for instance, if you watched a video on, I don't know, the issues in Africa, and then they've noted that that's what you've watched. Maybe you've actually watched a second video, and then all of a sudden that's what your timeline is absolutely filled with. Like, you know, if you go on Amazon and you buy something random like a toilet seat, and then all of a sudden you go on your main page and your suggested items are just hundreds of thousands of toilet seats. And that's basically what happens. It becomes too focused and too niche that you can't learn to explore into these other avenues. And it's the same with if you take Reddit, for instance. You find these pools of people, and it's really, really nice and a really good environment to be in, because you surround yourself online with people who have the same interests that you do, like the same things you do, and on the negative side, hate the things that you also hate. And it can become so quickly an echo chamber. Now, an echo chamber is basically two arguments, two people debating or talking about something, and they both have the exact same opinion, and they're basically both saying the same thing, echoing off each other. Now, I've seen it a lot. I even see it in my own family when they're debating. They're both actually debating the same side of the story. They just don't have anyone to debate against who comes from the other side. And this is the problem with being online, is you can create these massive echo chambers, and then because all the advertising becomes so niche and you're in that echo chamber so long, all of a sudden all the advertising is creating either a negative bias or positive bias depending on what you've been focusing on. And then before you know it, your whole online world just backs up your initial thoughts. There's no one to debate or make you think outside the box, which is kind of where democracy comes from. It's all about compromise. Like the real world, it's all about compromise. It's never just, this is my way of thinking, this is how it is. It's, this is my way of thinking, this person doesn't quite agree, they have a different background they come from, they think of things slightly differently, and by explaining to me their point of view, it makes me think about my own point of view and whether I can justify it or not. And then the problem with these echo chambers is that all of a sudden you have these people en masse, almost like a tribal rally, going against this one thing, even though it might just take someone from the other point of view to just simply say something, say their point of view for a bit more of a mutual understanding. So if you like tech and big tech, this is a great book. Well, it's an okay book to pick up. If you don't like politics but you want to learn a bit more about it, this is also very useful. It's also good because it's only like 300 pages, so it's pretty much a quick read. I would recommend it just because it's something a little bit different, gets you outside your comfort zone, and we should all read more books. Done.